Welcome to the Pitchwerks podcast. I'm Scott McTaggart. Over the last 20 years, I've been a sales rep, a marketer, a manager, an executive, a consultant, and an advisor. This show is designed to give you access to my list of contacts so that you can learn more about how to present your ideas at work and succeed in your career.
Startups and salespeople, marketers and managers from the Epicast Network in Pittsburgh. It's the Pitchwerks podcast.
The shrink wrap box cost $500 or it cost $5,000, right? And that rep couldn't get past the idea that why wouldn't you just buy it? Meanwhile, there's customers out there who have had these terrible implementations of upgrades, right? Or changing to a different platform. And they just want to wake up in the morning and they want to know that the new version of whatever they sell is already installed on the web, ready to go. All right, once again, Pitchwerks podcast is here. We're going to be talking sales, and we're going to be doing real sales with Lisa Davidson once again from the Outsourced Sales Manager. Lisa has come in today, and we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite phase of the sale. That's the part where you close, and you actually get to count the win. You get to make some money. You actually get to feed the family. This is all good stuff. Before we get started, we're going to do the usual stuff. I'm going to tell you that we want you to rate and review this fine program. Find us on iTunes, Google Play, and all the usual places. Put in 5 stars, 4 stars, 1 star, whatever you feel about us. Give us whatever feedback. You can also do that through the typical social channels. Use the handle Pitchwerks, Pitchwerks. And same goes for our website. Just remember to put the E in works and go to pitchwerks.com. Here's what's coming up next. A nice little half an hour conversation with Lisa Davidson, where we're going to talk about how to close the deals that you're working. I think this is going to be, pretty useful for some of you because I know you get the butterflies. You're worried about how this is all going to sort out. We're going to work on this for about a half an hour here, starting now. All right, Lisa, let's get down to business.
I'm ready.
I'm ready too. One of the things that's hard is knowing when to transition, right? I kind of alluded to it, in the intro there, where some people love going, and look, it also has rich Corinthian leather, right? And they don't know when to ask. Do you have a guideline or a rule of thumb that you use for like when it's time to move on to the part where you ask for the business?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yeah, my answer to this is going to be a little vague, so bear with me. I think you have to start to develop a skill of reading the client customer.
Interesting.
You have to start to see when they start to glaze over.
Oh, is that it? That's what I was going to ask you. How do you know?
You can start to see, you watch their body language. They start to maybe look at their watch. That's really the,
yeah.
That's the less, that's the obvious thing, when they start looking at their watch.
You have worn out your welcome.
You've way worn out your welcome.
See, that's not my experience though. Mine goes the other way. I think the rep has to give the this is the end of the show signal, right? Where you're there and they will entertain you forever. If you've done a great job, that's kind of why it's hard, I think, is you've told them something that really solves a problem and they're really enjoying it. They're enjoying it because it does solve their problem. They're thinking about how they're going to be received when they take this message to other people, right? They're thinking about the money they're saving. They like you as a person if you've had any success in that department. And they will listen to you talk way longer than necessary. And I do think, you run the risk of, running out of gas.
Absolutely.
So you kind of have to say, okay, and now on to the next act. And you have to say, this is the time where, they're sold, they're happy. Let's save them the rest of their day. Let's save me the rest of my day. And okay, Ms. Davidson, I really like what I'm hearing from you. It sounds like we might be ready. Do you agree? Something along those lines is a really nice, just advancing the ball. And at least now you've told them this is the time on Sprockets when we dance, right?
Exactly.
Oh God, nobody's going to get that reference. That's that old Mike Myers thing from way back when, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
You got to tell them this is the next thing in your program.
Well, and I think the key thing is that salespeople sometimes forget that they keep selling when the client is already sold.
Yep.
And they forget they're driving the bus. So sometimes they let the customer prospect drive the bus rather than taking the lead and actually taking them through or taking the prospect through all the steps.
It is a show. I think of it like a show, not unlike the one we're doing right now, right? Where information is parceled out in a specific way. And you say, the first thing they need to understand is that we are in this business and that we are trustworthy. We do this work for other people, whatever the example is that, helps set them at ease, that they could see themselves potentially working with your company and you. And then, after all of that, it's okay. And this is how much we think it should cost to solve your problem. And you have to get, that's part of the show. You have to get that on the program as well. And then you have to ask for it. But if I'm right, most people, when they get started, balk at that last part because they're not 100% sure they want to gamble. Like if they ask and they say, no, oh my God, what would happen, right?
Yeah, it's a scary thing.
It could be.
It's a scary thing. And we've talked about it before. This whole sales process, I equate to dating. It's just like dating.
There's a lot there, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to ask somebody to marry you if you're not sure that they're all in.
Right.
Because that would be a really embarrassing and hurtful thing.
So we need to take a side note and talk about trial closing, for example, because this is a great part to talk about trial closing, right? Because that's one place where the two things don't exist together, right?
That's right.
Trial closing, you give someone like a hypothetical, like, hey, if we're able to do this, assuming the prices are right, if we're able to solve this problem, do you think, you might pick us or you might do business with us? That's a trial close. It's a balloon you're floating to see whether or not somebody is with you. I don't think there's a trial close for marriage, though, right?
No, there isn't.
So, if I turn out to be a great guy, will you marry me, Lisa Davidson?
Or if I come up with a good ring. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if the ring is satisfactory, is there anything else preventing you from walking down the aisle with me? I'd really like to know. Way back when, and I spent a lot more time around the car business and that sort of thing. I remember one of the things some sales managers would do is actually make you write the trial close down on a piece of paper.
Oh, really?
And then you had to make an X and you had to draw a line next to it. I never did this. I didn't spend that much time in the car business, though. I mean, I was a young buck back then, but it made me laugh. It was like, if the price comes out to, $21,500, I will buy this car, X in a line, right? It was like a get a commitment from a customer technique.
Oh, my goodness.
It's way old school.
Oh, my gosh.
But it made me think about it while we were sitting here talking. But yeah, now that you've got the idea of a trial close, that's a useful thing. And you definitely have to build a few of those in. Maybe that takes away some of that feeling of a gamble. That feeling like, okay, is this the time to ask for the contract or, like make my final push? It definitely helped me, especially when I was getting started. I don't know, though. I mean, does everything kind of lend itself to that?
Well, see, I'm of the philosophy that you should be trial closing through the whole thing.
Me too. I agree.
So that by the time it comes time to ask for, the order or whatever it is,
the new business relationship, whatever
right.
It might be.
That this is not a surprise to anyone.
Yeah. I like that. Actually, boy, you just brought back a lot of memories.
I know. We have them all flooding back, right?
No, because actually that's how it was trained to me once upon a time. Is when you ask for the business, it shouldn't surprise anyone, is a really nice little nugget of wisdom. And I wish I could properly attribute that to wherever I got it from. I haven't thought about that in 10 years. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
It's not a surprise.
Some people never ask for the business.
No.
Ever. And they wash out for the most part. Granted, there are some people that are just, king soft soap and for whatever, it just works for them. But some people can't bring themselves to ask. And just spending a minute on it, you spend a lot more time doing training these days than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't done proper training with people, in any people I didn't already know, people I didn't already have, relationships with. But if I remember correctly, when I was doing more training, the reason that they balked at asking the closing question had like one part confidence.
If you've got somebody that is, kind of green to sales, they're just going to want to keep talking. They just want to keep They keep selling even though the person is already sold. Just like you said earlier about the Corinthian leather.
Oh, it's got rich Corinthian leather.
Yes, where the person didn't even care about that. They knew that they wanted the car when they walked in.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pitfall. Is you have to pay attention, and it goes to everything we've been talking about, Scott. Just starting from the beginning, knowing what your prospect is wanting or needing.
Yeah.
And then once you get to that point, to be able to say, hey, have I given you enough here to solve the problem that we talked about at the beginning? Have we done everything we need to do here? What's next?
That's really good. I guarantee you've used that one before.
Oh my, yeah.
I like the question, right? Have I served you sufficiently is sort of the undertone of that whole thing. And that's good.
Whatever we had talked about, it's important when you say that to reiterate what it was that the problem was at the very beginning, because you want to be able to use that prospect's words kind of back to them.
Yes.
So you're kind of tying it up on a big bow. Confirming
that the problem you were asked to solve is in fact solved.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of my favorites of all time in the helping people overcome their fear, right? Because I think that's kind of why I liked where you interjected that, right? Is the fact that that's a nice, comfortable transition. If you're just getting used to, and I'm going to be a little bit insulting or condescending, right? If you're still not sure how to be a human while you close, right? Well, because there's a certain bit of this, it feels like, you're like, okay, and this is the part where I say what my boss would say, right? And you haven't quite synthesized it into your own identity yet. And I like that. The other thing that I have used to help people get comfortable, and again, feel like a human, a fully formed, normal person, is to say, is there anything else I missed?
Mm-hmm.
Just, did I miss anything?
That's right. That's a good one.
And the reason, and it sounds like it's the same, so I need to clarify it a little bit. The question you're asking in that case is a little bit ambiguous. Are you asking whether or not they want to see any other features, right? Do they have any other questions? So you haven't necessarily gone all the way out on a limb, right? You have given the customer the control. They're driving the bus, to use your lingo from earlier. And the fact that they're driving the bus is what you're comfortable with, and you can stick with it until you get a little bit braver. You have to do some of these repetitions. You're going to need to eat while you're scared, right? So finding a way to sort of training wheel it can be useful, and asking, is there anything we missed? I like this as a crutch to use until you develop the confidence to start shaping it and running the show for yourself. Do you find, because you have all kinds of customers,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why I ask you, right? Like, everybody from very small to very large
Mm-hmm.
calls Lisa, just to make sure everybody listening understands. When you're talking to the people that are at the smaller end, where it's not as big of an ask, right? Do you find they have the same fear?
Everybody has the same fear.
Okay.
Everyone has the same fear, because depending where you are in your career, it could be rejection.
Yeah.
And nobody likes rejection.
No.
But as you get further in your career, you understand that, the rejection isn't personal, first of all.
Yeah.
And second of all, that you really need to learn from it, because you missed a spot somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
There should have been a red flag somewhere through your process. It means you skipped a step, or you talked too much and you didn't ask enough questions.
You weren't reacting so much as you were trying to get it all out there.
That's right.
That is a really common sin, especially again, if we're going back to, you're still in that period where you've got the queasy stomach, right?
Yep.
It's tough. It's also really necessary.
Yep.
You got to get out there and you got to ask the question, and you have to force yourself to ask the question. When they say no, that's good. It's good, because then you can ask, great, what did we miss?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now I know where I'm at. Something along those lines, which reassures everybody that they're in a process. When you were in here a little bit ago, when we were doing the one on prospecting, you kind of turned my expectation around because I was talking about like phone calls and emails, and you said, no, use the tech, right? The tech is your friend. It'll help you get to all the people that are already sort of assembled in one central place. And again, you're spanning so many different industries right now, and you're talking to so many different customers. I don't know. The things that I hold on to, sometimes, I don't know. I think sometimes people think that I'm getting a little old-fashioned or a little stale. I hope not. But, I figured I'd at least ask the question, is technology changing the way we close?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is. But always, again, there's two pieces that you need to be aware of. One is, what is your customer going to expect?
Yeah.
Are they willing, like if you're emailing me to close me, Lisa Davidson ain't happening that way.
Right.
So you need to know your audience. You need to know, can that person function at that level? So folks younger than us might be fine with that.
Yeah.
They may not need that tight relationship. I need to know who I'm dealing with. When something goes wrong, who am I calling, and who's going to help me implement all of this?
Do you think that's just generational? You said folks younger than us. Do you really think it's just an age thing, or is there more to it than that?
I think, again, I hate to, 2 seems to be my number today. There's two pieces. One, I think it could be generational. The other one is, what kind of personality are you dealing with?
Yeah.
If you've got somebody that's more of an analytical person, or somebody that just wants to make decisions quickly, depending how that person is wired. So that's why it's so important to know who's at the end of that email.
Yeah.
Who are you sending information out to?
The one I like is, how did it start? Right? If somebody is coming to you through the contact us page on the website, and they're willing to start the relationship with, dear person out there in space, I would like to buy 10 chrome plated widgets, right? This is someone who's a little bit more comfortable with distance and the possibility that they may be served in a less personal way. Because, and I'm sure you've seen the same statistics I have seen in terms of the businesses that you're helping, right? There's not a lot of those people that are just, dear diary, I would like to buy some crap. That's not typical. It's a phone call. It's an email to a specific person that typically involves, like, I talked to Jane over at ABC Consulting about who she thought I should use. She told me that I should reach out to you. It's almost never just shouting into the void, through the contact form. And if that's how the relationship starts, I think that's probably fine, right? I would probably go along with that. Okay, chrome-plated widgets are $100 each. You said you wanted quantity 10. We'll give you a 10% discount. I'll send you the paperwork. Please sign and send back. I don't think that's outside of the norm.
Yeah, no. But again,
now we're not talking about solution selling.
Yeah, you're not talking, and that's the point I was going to make.
Yeah.
You're talking about, that to me is a transactional sale. That's going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
You're buying what you want, you pay them, you're done. So, but if you need, if what you're selling, if what you're selling needs to be manipulated to solve your problem, that's not something you're doing via email very well.
Yeah.
At least not for me. I want to be talking to somebody. I want somebody that I am confident knows what I need, and that this for sure is going to fix my problem.
You know what else is interesting? In an email, if you ask the same question 3 times, you're a weirdo. That is a great reaction. I'm glad you liked that one.
That was very funny.
It's true, though, right? If you ask the same question 3 times in the same email, you're basically asking not to be taken seriously.
That's right.
However, when you do it in a face-to-face meeting, and again, you're asking it different ways. We all do this, especially if we don't understand the jargon of the transaction. We don't understand necessarily, like, what's the support plan actually going to yield. So it's 24 hours. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week, right? You're going to ask it a few different ways because you want them, number one, to understand how important it is to you. And number two, you want to make sure there's no tricky language being sneaked in there. So 365 days a year, you're going to come fix this, right? And they say, yes, absolutely. 100% of the time, if you call our toll-free number, a person will be here to fix your stuff within 8 hours, and I guarantee it, right? The old George Zimmerman's warehouse line. If you try that in email, like even if you don't do it in the same message, but you send it back again. So what you're saying is, let me see if I have the, no, this would have been better served with two people trying to communicate using more than just typed words, right? There's body language to it. There's tone of voice. It's like, is this guy pulling my chain, or is he seriously like suspicious that we might try to pull a fast one? All these different things figure in. What's the wrong way to ask for the business? How do you do it and you know something has gone wrong?
Well, I can tell you the first one that comes to my mind is our good friend Joe Gator used to say, you slide the paper across with the pen and press hard 3 copies. For those of us that remember carbon copy sales.
My dad used to say that around the house. Sign here, press hard, you're making 5 copies.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's not a good closing technique.
And I can tell you where it comes from. It comes from, again, fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's false bravado to make up for the fact that this thing probably shouldn't fly.
Yes.
I hate anything where you ask, what do I have to do to get your business today?
Yeah.
I hate false urgency. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm not saying that there aren't customers who don't need a push, right? But like, for example, if somebody's constantly waiting for the best deal, waiting for the best discount, but you're working a business where that doesn't really happen. It's like nails on a chalkboard. What do I have to do to get you to do this today, right? It definitely changes the tenor of the relationship from being a strategic long-term thing to being like, oh, you again, right? What do I have to do to get this over with you, right? And I think the idea is that you're trying to start off from a position of like, I'll do whatever it takes. I want to earn your business. And I've heard that phrasing, how can I earn your business? I want to make sure that you have this nailed down by the weekend. There's all those kinds of somewhat improving kind of phrases, but I think it changes it. I think it turns it into like, you are now bothering me.
Well, I think the difference there is now you've made it all about you instead of all about them.
Right.
So here you are selling solution, or I'm going to help you. And now what do I do to get it today?
Yeah.
Well, today is about me.
Wait. I got a great question for you now. Do you like, and I know, you know what, it's not even a question. Have you noticed how many people now tell you about the sales contest that they're in or that they need to get their numbers in, right? Have you seen it?
Yes.
This needs to go away.
Yes.
Lisa, I hate to be a pain, but if there's any way that we could do this by the end of the month, I would really appreciate it because I'm in a contest to go to Cancun, Mexico.
Are you taking me with you?
Oh my!
Then I'll sign today.
No words for how much I hate that. I could not care less. And the fact that you thought that I do, first of all, you don't. I can't. I refuse to believe that you do. But anyway, any other famous failures in the closing?
Well, you brought up the big one. If we do this today, the manipulation of the discount goes away if we don't do this by the end of the week.
Yeah.
Customers have gotten way too smart. They know better.
Well, there's that. And there's the fact that, again, it's like an insult.
Yes.
It's like, look, we value your business today, but not next week.
That's right.
In my old crotchety age, I now wait till the day after just to make a point.
Yes.
I do.
That would be a you thing.
It's totally me. You're like, seriously, you're going to hard sell me? Now, good closes that I legitimately like. Let's start with the one that you had, which was, the asking, of the, did we solve your problem that you laid out in the beginning? And my training wheels version of that, which was is there anything else that, we need to handle? I'm a big fan of something simply stated quietly No, like you don't have, again, the false bravado thing is an easy sort of like response. If you feel like you're afraid, you're more likely to pretend to be tough in such a way that it's off-putting. So at multiple times in my career, I've resorted just to the ask, which goes something like, so this would be the time that I would probably suggest that you take a look at the contract, and if you're happy with it, we move forward. Something quietly understated, almost academic, right? So this would be the time. I still think of it as the show. Like I still think of it as like the presentation, like, okay, this is what happens now.
The reason you're in this person's office is because they want to buy something.
Yeah. That's the only reason they invited you.
That's right. This wasn't just to have a coffee and chat.
I caught another Mike Myers bit there too, right? The coffee talk.
Coffee talk.
Yeah.
Right. No, coffee talk. So they're expecting. I mean, we've all bought stuff. We know how this goes. So if you're building the relationship, and again, the whole idea of a hard close has ruined our sales, just our sales personas. It shouldn't be a hard thing.
No.
This is all part of the process, because when you get to the end, when you're buying a car, when you're satisfied and you've gotten to the end and the price is where you want it and everything is good, you're buying it. And I think there's a difference. There's a real difference between the dynamic of buying and being sold.
You remember when you were on the last time and we were talking about, so there's an emotional component to the prospect, right? There's an emotional component to, I would like you to talk to me about potentially buying a thing, right? One thing that we're kind of dancing around here is the fact that the same thing happens at the close. You're telling people how to react to you all day long. They read your body language. They read your tone of voice and whatnot. We were talking about, if you smile while you dial and all those old sayings. Same thing here, right? If you don't seem like you think that this should end, it won't.
That's right. It will drag on forever.
If you do think that it should end, and it's reflected in your behavior, it's reflected in your demeanor, and your okay, great. When can we do this? Right? Like, all right, I think we got everything. Yeah, let's do this. Right? That being up, that having the right energy, and being able to convey a sense of excitement. Taking away that fear that they have that your reluctance to close equals they're missing something. That's what we're missing right there. It's the energy. You've got to have that emotional sort of confidence / enthusiasm. Yeah?
Absolutely. And for me personally, in my process, I mean, by the time we've gotten to this point and they've said to me, "Oh my gosh, Lisa, yeah, you've answered everything," I am legitimately excited.
Yeah.
Because I've done something good today.
Absolutely.
So I am genuinely jazzed to say, "Oh my gosh, I am so excited that we've gotten to this point. Here's what happens next."
Especially now that you're you're the big boss now, right? How hard it is to put $1 in the cash register.
Yes.
And you're actually kind of relieved. It's like, oh, I planted this seed a while ago, and here we are now actually turning it into something.
Yes.
Yeah, we got to be there. We got to have fun, because now we're at the point where the customer understands it. We've solved the problem. And this is where something cool could happen. And I think there's a certain practice to it. You have to get used to the idea. It's a different mental model than maybe you're in, especially if you're in a new job. It's a new product. The paradigm is shifted, something like that. The energy level.
Well, and I think the other thing is, no matter where, even if you're a new sales rep, get out of the mind of having to do it perfectly.
Oh, you've got to terribly, terribly miss. Yeah.
As long as you're authentic and you're interacting with the customer and you're genuinely asking good questions and ready to go, even if it's, even if you trip up a little bit, they're going to be very forgiving because you're authentic.
I'll tell you
real.
something. I want to watch how you bounce back from a mistake, because it's not like I think you're not going to make mistakes when you're my rep. It's how you deal with them.
That's right.
Do you reject the fact that you made a mistake? That's a huge red flag. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to be late sometimes. How do you deal with it? Do you apologize? Do you blame it on some fantastical thing that I'm pretty sure didn't happen?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to bounce back and let me see how you bounce back.
That's right.
Be a normal person again. God, I say that too much. It's like, just be a normal human being.
But it's true.
The whole thing has to come together as synthesize it into who you are. Make sure that you're being authentic. Don't misrepresent. Don't be cheesy. And make sure that your energy level is sufficient to communicate what you actually think the value of this presentation is, because it can be misinterpreted as, like, your fear can be misinterpreted as, I'm asking you to do something that's bad for you.
That's right.
Or you don't have all the information yet.
That's right.
I want to give everybody, all the people that listen, I want to give them a little bit of an assignment. And I didn't, we didn't necessarily plan this, but I want you to go through everything that you've quoted recently, everything that you have sort of like in your funnel, right? Anything that you haven't proposed yet, I want you to trial close them. And anything that you have proposed, I want you to decide right now that you're going to try to close them in a straightforward, energetic, helpful way. Call them, ask them for the business. Go see them is actually the right way to do it. Go see them and say, I'm going to steal yours. I just want to make sure that you think that we solved all the problems you laid out for us. Because if so, I'd like to get started. Challenge yourself to do that. Do yourself that favor. Yeah?
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun. If I was back there, I would want somebody to tell me that.
Absolutely. Not only that, you're going to get results.
You will.
And that's the fun part of selling.
Yeah, like you said, they didn't invite you into their office so that they could just, watch you sit there and present. That's boring. That's not what they want to do. They've got other better things to do. You got invited in there because they think there's a pretty good chance they might buy from you. Take that as the motivation that it should be and start to work from it. Ask people to buy from you. That's your assignment this week. Thanks to Lisa Davidson from the Outsource Sales Manager for coming in to the Epicast Studios once again and sharing some knowledge. Very happy to have you here.
Thanks so much, Scott. Nicely done. Nicely done.
That little transition, I came up with that all by my lonesome.
Very nice.
As always, let us know what you thought of today's show. Hit us up on the social channels. That's Pitchwerks, Pitchwerks. Lisa and I, we're trying to put some things on the calendar to do some, let's call them seminars, some, like the basics of sales. And I really want you to hit us up on those social channels about this. Let us know how long you would want a training session to go. Let us know how much you think it would be worth for that long. I'm looking for legit feedback. Like, I would buy a 3-day seminar over a weekend for this, or I would want, a 1-day seminar for this, and I would want it to cover that. Lisa and I have been trying to figure out exactly what's the right way to do this. And established sales pros that we are, we realize that we should be asking you. So let us know. We're going to try to get that set up here before we hit summer and vacation season and all that sort of a thing. So yeah, hit us up. And Lisa, just to make sure everybody knows how to get a hold of you, can you fill them in on the web address?
Absolutely. The outsourcedsalesmanager.com.
And phone numbers there, and they can
all the information there.
They can do the contact form.
Contact form.
I was wondering.
Baby.
I was like,
Absolutely.
oh boy,
Contact form.
I got one too.
Yes.
Right? On the Pitchwerks site, there's a contact form. The shout into the void form, right? It's there too. Again, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. I hope everybody takes our challenge, tries to close what they've got quoted. Go out there, be bold. Don't worry. It's all going to be okay. Take care of yourself, and we'll catch up with you in about 7 days.
The Pitchwerks podcast comes to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a production of the Epicast Network and McTaggart, LLC. Engineering and production by Buzzy Torek and Nick Miller. For more information, show feedback, and ad sales, visit pitchwerks.com. pitchwerks.com. On social media, find and follow the show on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram using that same brand name, pitchwerks.